Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to absolutely shatter a widely held belief about extreme weather. Because, when we think of deadly heat, we almost always picture scorching thermometers, right? Blurring news headlines about record-breaking temperatures. But today, we're diving into some truly groundbreaking new research to uncover a silent, stealthy killer that is hiding right in plain sight.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the heat wave myth, the heat stress recipe, the India heat index, a tale of three cities, the deadly lag effect, and finally, rethinking heat alerts.
All right, starting things off with Section 1, the heat wave myth. Is temperature really the whole story?
It is time to challenge an assumption that, let's be honest, almost all of us make. When summer rolls around, we completely fixate on the air temperature. We assume that only official heat wave days, the ones breaking historical temperature records, are the ones that are actually dangerous. But what if focusing only on the thermometer means we're entirely missing the days that are quietly taking the biggest toll on human life?
That brings us to Section 2, the heat stress recipe, and how we mix the perfect storm.
To really understand this, we need to look at the ingredients of heat stress. True heat stress requires a complex mixture of four things: air temperature, relative humidity, surface radiation from the sun, and wind speed. Think of it as a literal recipe for a perfect storm. See, our bodies cool down primarily through evaporative cooling, which is, just a fancy science term for sweating. But when it's super hot and highly humid, the air is essentially already full of water, so that whole system just breaks down. The sweat just drips right off you instead of evaporating. That means you face severe dehydration without actually lowering your core temperature at all. It's kind of like wearing a sauna suit on a summer day. High wind speed can help counter this, but ignoring any of these four factors means we are drastically underestimating the danger.
Which leads us to Section 3, meet the India Heat Index, a new metric to save lives.
So current heat indices are mostly tailored to temperate climates in developed nations. But researchers at IIT Delhi have developed the India Heat Index, or IHI. And let me tell you, this is a massive leap forward. It fills a critical knowledge gap by giving us a tool that actually accounts for evaporative cooling and sweating efficiency, and they did this using 42 years of meteorological data. It calculates the exact physiological stress the human body is under by looking at all those vital ingredients we just talked about.
Now, what's really fascinating is how the researchers applied this new index. They didn't just look at India as a whole, they broke it down geographically. They focused on three distinct case study cities: Delhi, which is semi-arid, Varanasi, a humid subtropical city, and Chennai, which is tropical, wet, and dry. And together, these specific climate zones cover over 75% of India's landmass and house about 88% of its population. That is a huge sample size.
Let's look closer in Section 4, a tale of three cities, where we're uncovering the stealth killer.
Under current policies, heat action plans are almost exclusively focused on official heat wave days, which are based purely on maximum temperature extremes. But what about the days that don't trigger those alerts, the non-heat wave days? Well, the data reveals something wild. These days are actually stealth killers, totally missed by current temperature-only metrics.
And here is the central plot twist of this data. When we break down the numbers, a massive proportion of these days fall into the sweltering category. That is the absolute highest category of physiological stress on the India Heat Index. But remember, we are only looking at days not officially classified as heat waves. A shocking 54% of non-heat wave days in Varanasi are actually sweltering stealth killers. In Chennai, it's 45%, and in Delhi, it's 41%. So, the thermometer might not trigger a national alert on these days, but the combination of humidity and solar radiation is quietly pushing human bodies way past their limits.
And the consequences of this are just devastating. On these secretly sweltering days, for every single unit increase in the India Heat Index, all-cause mortality spikes significantly. We're looking at an 8.1% increase in mortality in Varanasi, an 8.0% increase in coastal Chennai, and a 5.9% increase in Delhi. This really proves just how lethal this hidden humidity and radiation combo truly is, even when the air temperature alone doesn't seem record-breaking.
But, we have to remember to pull these statistics out of the spreadsheet and into real life. Who is actually dying? Well, the research clearly shows that older populations, specifically those over 64 years old, and females bear the brunt of this stealth heat stress.
When we look at the granular breakdown of that vulnerability, it's pretty stark. In Varanasi, the excess mortality risk for people over 64 jumps by 7.5% for every unit rise in the index. And the risk for females is noticeably higher than for males across the board. Actually, in cities like Chennai, female mortality rises by 5.3% per unit increase, while the male increase barely even registers. This shows us exactly who is most at risk when the India heat index spikes, proving that heat stress absolutely does not impact the population equally.
Moving into Section 5, the deadly lag effect, the ticking clock of heat stress.
3 to 6. Because there is a hidden delayed reaction to heat stress. Mortality doesn't just spike on the hot day itself, it actually peaks 3 to 6 days after the initial exposure. Think of it kind of like a ticking clock inside the body. The danger isn't over when the sun goes down. Physiological stress compounds day after day. In Delhi, the cumulative risk peaks at 3 days. In Varanasi, it peaks at 4 days. And in highly humid coastal Chennai, it takes up to 6 days for the maximum mortality effect to hit. The body just struggles to recover, especially when the nights don't cool down enough, leading to this really prolonged deadly lag effect. Which brings us to our final section, Section 6, Rethinking Heat Alerts, Policies for a Warming World.
First off, we have to recognize that heat doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It's part of a compounding web of risks. Extreme air pollution exacerbates the health impacts of heat. Increased humidity from agricultural irrigation makes it even harder for our sweat to evaporate. Urban expansion accelerates warming through the urban heat island effect, literally trapping heat in concrete. And on top of all that, peak summer power demand often leads to frequent power cuts, instantly disabling the cooling infrastructure we desperately rely on. So accurate measurement is literally a matter of life and death when facing these compounding threats.
Because of all this, the researchers make an urgent recommendation. We can no longer rely on a one-size-fits-all national temperature threshold. Because humidity and wind play such massive roles, an early warning system in semi-arid Delhi needs entirely different triggers than an early warning system in tropical Chennai. We desperately need localized, region-specific alert systems that are based on human comfort and physiological stress, not just the raw temperature.
So I want to leave you with a provocative thought. The next time you look at the weather app on your phone or hear the forecast on the news, ask yourself, are the metrics they're using actually capturing the danger to your body, or are they completely missing the stealth killers hiding in your own local climate? Understanding the true recipe of heat stress is the very first step to surviving it. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, stay cool out there.